I have friends who go through pounds of bacon every single month, and I'm going to show you how you can make it at home, and it's really easy to do. I mean, just about everything goes better with bacon. Chicken bacon ranch is a good one. You can also have bacon on your hamburgers, BLTs. This one is going to be specialty just for breakfast bacon. We're going to have it maple flavored, so it goes great with ham and eggs.
Check with your butcher and see if you can get a big piece of pork belly. I picked this one up at the local big box store and it came skinless. If the one that you bought has skin, you'll want to remove it before you cure it. This end isn't quite level, which is okay, but I need some pork belly for a different recipe, so I cut it off to square things up. The next step is to cut it in half to make it easier to store for the curing process. It's also the perfect size for a gallon plastic zipper bag. Weigh each half so you know exactly how much cure to use. The two halves were off by about 100 grams, and that makes a few grams difference in the cure. The next step requires math, but don't worry, this is some pretty easy multiplication. You want 2% of the meat weight in salt, another 2% of maple sugar, and 0.25% curing salt, number 1, if you're using it. This cut was 240 grams and needed 41 grams of salt and maple sugar. The curing salt is much less, you only need just a little over 5 grams, and you want to be as exact as possible whenever you're using curing salt, since we aren't using that much. Weigh out your cure with a standard kitchen scale. We added 41 grams of salt and another 41 grams of maple sugar, and if you're off by a gram or two of salt, it won't make a big difference, but it is good to be precise. Maple sugar is just dried maple syrup. If you can't find that, I linked to some below, but you could use about a half a cup or 120 milliliters of quality maple syrup. I just didn't see the need to add water when the salt will pull some of it out of the meat anyway. Give the cure a good mix just to make sure that it's fully combined. I set the cure next to each one, but the My Little Pony bowl is completely optional. The next trick is to get the pork belly into the gallon zipper bag, and it fits almost as if it were made just for this. Now, you could use a vacuum sealer bag instead, but you don't need it for the curing process. We are going to use that when we freeze it. Add half of the cure on one side of the pork belly, and then flip it over and pour the rest on the other side. Move it around and try to coat every part of the pork belly, but this will quickly turn into a brine, so it isn't super critical if you miss a spot here or there. Next, remove as much air as possible from the bag before sealing it to help the newly formed brine cover the meat. Put the pork belly into the fridge for a week, but be sure to flip it every day or so just to make sure that everything cures evenly. After the 7 days are up, rinse off the brine and any remaining cure. You want to be really thorough with this step to keep your bacon from getting too salty, and I'll spend a couple of minutes per pork belly just to make sure I get it all off. You could also fry up a piece at this point to see how the flavor is, but keep in mind the ends are going to be the saltiest.
One of the common questions that I get is whether or not you can bake your bacon in the oven, and you absolutely can. You just won't get as much smoke flavor as you would if you do it in a charcoal or in a pellet grill. But for me today, I'm going to do it on my pellet grill because I know it'll give the lightest smoke out of all of the cookers that I have, with still giving it a decent smoke ring. The reason why I do that is sometimes if you do it with a heavier smoke, when you go to fry it up inside, it starts to give off some of that smoke smell and could smell a little bit like a campfire. So you might want to take it easy, but you can absolutely do it on a charcoal grill or whatever smoker you've got. Just make sure that that smoke is pretty light.
Set your smoker to 225 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm using an apple pellet blend, but any fruit wood would work well, and hickory is another classic choice. Put your cured pork belly on the smoker and make sure that each piece lays flat so that way your bacon doesn't come out in an odd shape. You can see the wiggle on the left, and that is the shape of my bacon now. We're aiming for a temperature around 145 degrees Fahrenheit before we pull it off the smoker. This hot smoking process keeps the meat out of the danger zone and reduces the risk of contamination, and that's the primary reason why I use this method instead of cold smoking it. I let it cool for about 30 minutes before I wrapped up the bacon in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge overnight for easier slicing. It's the next morning, and I always like to square up the bacon to use the ends and pieces in fried rice, soups, and other dishes that don't require slices. I don't have a slicer, so I use my fancy cordless one, and I take my time to get the slices perfect. A good slicing knife is key here because it allows you to cut it in 1 or 2 strokes to reduce shingling. I cut one of my bacon slabs into thick pieces for burgers and the other into thinner slices for eating it on its own. If you want thin slices, put the bacon in the freezer for 30 minutes to firm up. My preferred storage method is to vacuum seal the bacon, and it'll last over a year in the freezer if you store it this way. Folding the edges back on the bag avoids getting grease on the part that you seal, and it increases your chances of making it airtight. And I'll usually double seal it on that end just to be sure. This usually takes 2 people so one person can keep their hands clean while the other slices and stuffs the bacon. Everyone seems to want a taste test, and I made breakfast and burgers that same day. This bacon is delightfully sweet with just a hint of maple that says breakfast.